And we begin this morning with that breaking news on the tentative deal to avert a potential strike and major shutdown of railroads across the country.
Yeah, a lot of eyes on this one. The White House announcing earlier this morning an agreement in place between the railroad companies and two labor unions that were threatening to strike if a new contract was not reached by midnight. President Biden saying in a statement that the deal is, quote, an important win for our economy and the American people. We have full coverage of these developments in just a moment. Rick Newman, a senior columnist at Yahoo Finance, on how critical a deal was to helping protect the economy. But we begin with NBC News technology correspondent Jake Ward and NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memoli. Good morning to both of you. And we begin with Mike. We'll start off asking about what more we know about this deal and how the White House was able to reach this agreement at the last minute.
Well, Stephen, we expect to learn some more details about the particular terms of the agreement when Labor Department officials hold a media availability later this morning. The president saying in a statement announcing the agreement this morning that it's going to lead to improved pay and working conditions for the union workers here. But it is significant. The Labor Department was hosting both the management and union representatives throughout the day yesterday. I'm told in the end there were 20 hours of consecutive negotiations leading to an agreement. And President Biden playing a crucial role with a phone call to both sides late last night around 9 p.m. The agreement followed in the hours that came after. Now, President Biden in that statement calling this a win for tens of thousands of rail workers who worked tirelessly through the pandemic to ensure that America's families and communities got deliveries of what kept us going during these difficult years. He also called it a win for the freight rail companies, saying they're now going to be able to attract the kind of talent workers to keep them on the rails. Now, this was going to affect not just freight rail, but passenger rail. Amtrak yesterday had announced they were canceling a number of their long distance routes. And so an important win for the White House at a time they were really concerned about another economic blow.
And all down to the wire. Jake, if you could walk us through what got us to this point in the first place. What were the issues at heart of this negotiation, and are there any sticking points left?
Well, fundamentally, Steve, we're talking here about, as Mike has mentioned, really the backbone of the economy. 40% of what you and I buy on the grocery store shelves depend on rail traffic to get there. And so the stakes really could not have been higher. As Mike mentioned, we don't know yet exactly what the carriers and the unions have agreed to here. Neither of them are commenting yet. We only know this because the White House has announced it. But the terms here the negotiation here had everything to do with working conditions. According to the unions, there had been basically a shift in the last few years that began to make what was already an extraordinarily demanding job. When you sign on to work for the railroad, you are signing on to be within reach of your phone and to be within range of your job every day of the year. It's an emergency-based sort of employment. But what rail workers were saying was that because in the last few years there had been a reduction in the workforce, that companies had been shedding workers. One report from the Surface Transportation Board shows that about 29% fewer workers in the industry over the past 6 years. And the unions had essentially said that they were doing pre-pandemic levels of rail traffic with only about 80% of the workforce. And that added up, they said, to a very stern system, a strict system that penalized them for even trying to go to the doctor. One of the things they were asking for was unpaid sick leave, not just paid sick leave, unpaid sick leave. They wanted 15 days that they could rely on to be able to go to the doctor without having to take that time out of their, sleeping schedule was what it was down to. Otherwise, they would have been penalized under several new programs that had been instituted that would, basically points programs. So these were really fundamental questions about the quality of life for these workers. They say it was making things just untenable. I'll also mention here quickly that, these companies have seen a 600% increase in profit since 2004. That's something unions had really pointed at, but the carriers had said, those are mostly about investments. It's not about labor, and so said that it shouldn't really be part of this. So really, two sides very much at loggerheads. It is amazing that we have come to this point, Stephen.
I think so many people don't realize how demanding these jobs actually are. So, Mike, from a political standpoint, how important was this for the White House to solve this and avoid a strike?
Well, Stephen, I tell you, Biden administration officials really feel like since the president took office last year, it's been one crisis after another. And you think about the other supply chain crisis they inherited early on, having to deal with ocean shipping that only has recently become to be resolved. And so at a time when the administration has really been celebrating a run of legislative successes. You saw the president with multiple events this week, again, touting the Inflation Reduction Act, the infrastructure law. This really threatened to upset that momentum at a critical moment. We know the midterm elections now less than 8 weeks away. And so this really removes what would have been a major economic blow at a really brutal time for the administration. And the White House already this morning touting the fact that President Biden's approval ratings continue to tick up. A new poll from the Associated Press has his approval rating now at 45%, up from the mid-30s just a month ago.
A lot of things changing really fast as those midterms inch closer. Mike Mimley, Jake Ward, thank you both.
Now let's bring in Yahoo Finance senior columnist Rick Newman for more on how a potential strike could have impacted an already fragile economy. Good morning, Rick. So I want to jump in and talk about the latest consumer price index report out this week. It showed that inflation rose more than expected last month. So what kind of impact would a strike have had on these already sky-high prices?
It would have made inflation worse. And it's not necessarily gas prices, which is probably the one single consumer product that people pay the most attention to. Just because everybody sees those prices advertised everywhere, it would have been other types of energy. So there's a lot of coal that gets transported by rail. If you have less coal, that means utilities are going to be using more natural gas, and those prices have been going up. Ethanol, almost all ethanol gets transported by rail. That's an important additive in gasoline. There's some oil and oil products. Mostly this would have been industrial products that would have passed through higher costs to consumer products and done it fairly quickly. So Biden must make this deal stick. He needs this deal in place, especially given that the midterm elections are less than 2 months away.
And, Rick, I know that before the news of an agreement being reached, the American Farm Bureau Federation expressed their concerns over a potential stoppage. So talk to us about some of the challenges farmers and ranchers would have faced.
Think about energy. Let's talk about natural gas for a moment. People do not pay close attention to the cost of natural gas because you don't see it anywhere. I mean, nobody looks at the fine print on their utility bills, or at least most people don't. Natural gas prices right now are twice what they were 1 year ago. And that is really important because a lot of utilities use natural gas to produce electricity. It takes a lot of energy to produce food, to transport food, and to produce a lot of other things in the system. And when energy costs go up, which they have done, and they're probably going to stay there for the next several months into the winter, that raises the cost of many products, and it does it in a way that people can't really see. So if you see, food prices are up 13% year over year. That is one of the most important drivers of inflation right now. And that has a lot to do with energy. There are other factors, not enough workers in the system and things like that. But energy is one of the biggest concerns with regard to inflation right now. And it's not gasoline. It's other types of energy where you don't really see the price.
And I mean, Rick, you've talked about gasoline a few times, so we should touch on it. Obviously, we've seen gas prices improve dramatically across the country over the past few months. The national average now at $3.69 a gallon, according to AAA. And that's down from that $5 high we saw back in June. I was out at a gas station when we hit that record. So how does the news this morning affect drivers specifically? Would a strike have caused these prices to go back up again?
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, ethanol makes up about 10% of gasoline, and that does travel mostly by rail. So if there had been disruptions in ethanol supplies, that probably would have caused problems for gasoline and pushed prices up a little bit. Now, we're not going to have that problem right now, but I think there's a good case that gasoline prices are about as low as they're going to go. I'm not sure that drivers are going to get much more of a break. This has to do, obviously, with the global price for oil. We don't get to set oil prices. They're set in a global market. They've actually been ticking up a little bit lately. The war in Ukraine remains a huge issue with regard to oil supplies in the world. It seems far away to many Americans, but, if there's a disruption of oil supply from Russia or any country of just 1 to 2% of the global supply, that is going to push prices up. So we've got a really nice set of relief during the last 3 months. I fill up my tank, and I love seeing that price fall below $4. I don't know that we're going to get much lower than we are right now, though.
Okay, a lot to watch out for drivers. Rick Newman, thank you.
Bye, guys.
Now, the latest on the investigation into the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows has reportedly complied with a subpoena from the Justice Department. According to what multiple sources familiar with the matter have told CNN, Meadows turned over the same materials he previously gave the House Select Committee investigating that attack. Those materials include emails and text messages between Election Day of 2020 and the day President Biden was inaugurated. It's unclear whether the DOJ will seek more material from Meadows, potentially leading to a legal fight over executive privilege.
Now to the latest on the memorial of Queen Elizabeth II. Crowds spent the night in miles-long lines for a chance to say one final goodbye to the monarch. This is a live map showing the line of tens of thousands of mourners waiting to file through Westminster Hall for the first full day of her lying in state. Right now, it's nearly 4 miles long. Meanwhile, King Charles III is expected to have a day away from public duties and events for reflection. For more on this, let's bring in NBC News foreign correspondent Molly Hunter live from London. Molly, good to see you. So hundreds of thousands are expected to say their farewells and pay their respects in the following days. And that enormous line of people is being talked about around the world, understandably. 4 miles, that is very long. And I understand that even the first 3 people in that line got a wristband to signify sort of the significance of this moment. So talk to us about what you've seen and what we can expect to see today.
Yeah, Zinkley, good morning. And you hear the kind of, if you hear the laughter, the noises behind me, it's because the line, the epic long queue, I'm just looking at it, they're just crowding towards the bridge. They are moving very, very quickly right below me. So as you said, there is an app that Londoners can check to see. Right now it's about 4 miles. We are told by people at this stage, and we're just across from Westminster Hall, they queue on this side, cross the bridge, head into Westminster Hall. It's about 2.5 hours to here, 45 more minutes. So it is not the 10-mile long line, the 30-hour wait that was expected. But take a quick listen, to what a couple people said about waiting in that line.
She was the glue, what knitted the monarchy together, really, wasn't she?
You're always guiding us as a moral standard, and a part of the reason I come to this country. So I didn't actually know she meant that much to me.
And Zinkley and Steve, everyone is saying this is the least they feel they can do. They will wait for as long as it takes. Now, we'll see if the crowds get bigger, of course, over the weekend when people aren't working. But it's certainly not as backed up as was expected.
Not as backed up, but I still love that you can see the line from where you are. That's amazing, Molly. And I also know that President Biden spoke to King Charles III yesterday to offer his condolences on the passing of his mother, the Queen. What can you tell us about that conversation?
Yeah, we have a short readout. Zinkley, I'll just read a tiny bit of it. It says the president recalled fondly the Queen's kindness and hospitality, including when she hosted him and the First Lady at Windsor Castle last June. He also conveyed the great admiration of the American people for the Queen, whose dignity and constancy deepen the enduring friendship and special relationship between the two countries. Zinkley, we are meeting a lot of Americans here who say exactly that. The Queen was not just the Queen of the United Kingdom or of the Commonwealth. Americans, and I am sure you guys have been talking about this too, feel a real fondness for the monarch and for the 70 years that she reigned.
A lot of solidarity around the world. Molly Hunter, thank you.
And for more on this, let's bring in NBC News British historian Andrew Roberts. Andrew, good morning to you. If you would, give us the broad view here. Do these miles-long lines have any comparison in modern times? And have people in the UK ever sort of turned out in numbers like this?
Never before in the numbers that are expected. I think that, of course, this is a Thursday. You wait till the weekend when people have to on their hands. That's when they're going to be coming from all over the country to join this queue. I shouldn't be surprised if it stretches to Bermondsey. The authorities are ready for that to happen. They're speeding it up much faster. And as you can see, they're going on both sides of the cataract, which is a very sensible way to speed the whole thing up. But to look at it historically, I just found one sentence from a report of Winston Churchill's lying in state. And it's a rather beautiful piece of writing. What the journalist said was 2 rivers run silently through London tonight, and one is made of people. Dark and quiet as the nighttime Thames itself, it flows through Westminster Hall. So we have seen this before. We saw it with Winston Churchill in 1965, but you have to go back that far to see a precedent like this.
So striking to see all of those people willing to line up and wait. And what do we think about the way people are mourning? And what do you think this says about modern Britain and its relationship with the Crown?
Well, it's obviously got a very strong and ancient relationship with the Crown that goes back the concept of monarchy 1,000 years. So in that sense, it's an essential part of the self-identity of the nation. With regard to looking forward, it's much more difficult. One has to look at King Charles III and see the ways in which he's going to try to continue the traditions of his mother.
A lot still to come on that. Thank you so much for your insight, Andrew Roberts.
Now let's turn back to the U.S. for the latest on Tropical Storm Fiona and get a check of your Morning News Now weather.
Meteorologist Michelle Grossman joins us now for more on that. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning. Good to see you both. And we are looking at our 6th named storm of the Atlantic season. It was a slow start, but we're getting there. We're at the peak season, and we are looking at our 6th named storm. So here's the latest information. Became a tropical storm overnight. It was Tropical Depression 7, now Tropical Storm Fiona, 580 miles east of the Leeward Islands. It's moving at 13 miles per hour, so that's pretty quick. And we're seeing winds at 50 miles per hour. We do anticipate that it's going to stay a tropical storm and sort of entering conditions that aren't great for strengthening, so we do expect it to stay at this strength a little bit higher. So as we go throughout time here, by Friday into Saturday, we're going to see it impacting the northern parts of the Leeward Islands, and then by Sunday into the Virgin Islands, into Puerto Rico, into Hispaniola by Monday into Tuesday, and then it could impact the Bahamas early next week before it takes that turn to the right. So we have a big area of high pressure. That's a steering current, and we're going to see it move off to the west and also the north. Hopefully that will help steer it away from the East Coast, and that's what we're thinking as of right now. Now back closer to U.S., we are looking at some rain in the northern plains. We're looking at some rain also in parts of the central part of the nation. So that's the big story today in terms of any storms. We're looking at severe weather possible in the central and southern plains. Also looking at some storms in Florida as we go throughout the afternoon to evening hours. We saw that yesterday. We saw it the day before. We're going to see it once again today. So your severe weather threat for today, we could see winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. That could cause some damage. Also some hail. It's a low risk, but still not zero. Same with the tornado risk. We're looking at a low risk. The major concern here will be heavy downpours and also some winds. But it's extending from the northern plains into the central plains, parts of the southern plains. So basically Amarillo into Dodge City and also Grand Island. This is the setup. We have an area of low pressure. It's a slow-moving front, nearly stationary, but not quite parked. So it's moving slowly through hot and humid air. That's going to spark the chance for some storms as it slides through the plains. Strong storms from Texas and Nebraska. And that will be mainly later on this afternoon into the evening hours. Tomorrow, still moving really slow. We're looking at heavy downpours possible in the upper Midwest. We could see 1 to 3 inches of rain, maybe a little bit higher as we go throughout the afternoon hours. And rainfall rates could be 1 to 2 inches per hour. So as we look towards Florida, we're seeing a stationary front also moving very, very slowly. That's the name of the game. That's what we saw the past few days. So we're going to see this interacting with some sea breeze. That's going to develop soaking storms once again. We're going to see the chance for some flooding rains. Locally, heavy rain. Flooding is possible once again. And then tomorrow, not moving really far. It moves a little bit to the north, but look at all these heavy cells of really heavy downpours from Tampa to Orlando and also Miami. So a tough go in terms of travel there. We're going to see some ponding on the roadways. Rainfall forecast 1 to 3 inches generally. Could see a little higher amounts, 2 to 4 inches in some spots, especially within some of those thunderstorm cells. We could see some pretty heavy downpours. Now, in terms of the temperatures, picture perfect. Really nice September weather in the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, also portions of New England. But, Stephen, we are looking at really hot conditions still. Feeling like summer with just a few days left with temperatures in the 90s.
Wow, a lot to keep track of. I know you'll watch Fiona for us. Yeah. We'll check back in on that one. Michelle,
thank you so much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.